Okay, so now for completing tasks, this is actually a lot shorter. All we want to do is whenever one of these guys is tapped, when a list item is tapped, we want to toggle the state of the checkbox. So to do that, we need to implement a method that list activity gives us on the list activity that we extended, which is called on list item clicked. And then, we already did this on task. We implemented a completed property, so now a task knows whether or not it's completed. And we will implement a toggle method, which will allow us to easily toggle that state without knowing what state the task is in. And the list item view will mark the checkbox complete whenever a task is toggled, and then we will refresh the list to make sure that the freshest data is being displayed. So let's start with inside view task activity. We need to implement a method called onListItemClicked, and that is again defined inside of list activity. It conveniently tells us whenever one of those is clicked. We don't have to do any sort of listening ourselves. And we can get that easily implemented by going here to source, override, implement methods. On list activity, we can look for on list item click and click check. Check the checkbox there. I want to put this after on resume, and I click OK. And now that code is automatically generated for me conveniently. There's not really a lot of benefits to calling super there. Well, no, that's actually not true. We want to make sure that we call super here, because there may be some other things that happen up the chain. So make sure you call super, and then let's get the code that we want to be there. Paste that in here to avoid typing. So on the adapter, I'm going to tell it to toggle the task complete property at a position that is passed into us on the on list item clicked. So the position will be handled by the list view. It'll tell us what position is clicked, and we're going to tell the adapter to toggle completeness of the task at that position. So I'm going to come over here, create method toggle task complete at position in task list adapter, and it will create that for us. And what we want to do here is get a task t equals tasks.get at position. Now we have a reference to the task of that position, and we'll say t.toggle complete, which is a method that is not yet written, but is easy to write by hovering over here and saying create method toggle complete and type task, and it will create that for me. And all we want to do is set complete equal to whatever it wasn't before, the opposite of what it was before. And now we have a nice little way to toggle completeness. But the next thing that we want to do inside the adapter is after that that completeness is toggled on a specific task. Once we save this should no longer be a problem. Why is it still complaining? Toggle complete. Did I save that? Yep, public toggle complete. I'm just going to say that this is I'm not sure what the problem is there, but Eclipse will come around to our way of thinking sooner or later. But after we toggle the completeness of that task, we want to say notify dataset change again. Because now something changed that only the adapter knows about so far, and we want to make sure that any components that are listening or getting data out of this adapter are up to date. And now in view task activity, we have a way to toggle the completeness of the task that is checked, and we'll run this guy and see that in action. No tasks again. And now when I click on it, I can toggle the completeness of the task, and it's reflected inside the checkbox.
Yay.
Lots of fun. I could sit here all day and click this, but I won't. I'll forge right ahead. That was a nice short one. Was there any questions about what we did there?
We have a question from the audience.
Why did you listen at the list level and not at the item
level. Because the list activity, view task activity, merely needed to go back to the adapter and say, oh, by the way, adapter, let's see, they're always position N. You couldn't somehow have each view that
have the adapter do it itself.
Well, each row is made up of some little views, and you would think those views could handle their own toggling.
Yeah, they probably could. We could set up a listener here to see. Inside the task list item view, we could set up some way of knowing whether or not it was tapped and then check it. There's no particular reason except that it's very easy to override on list item clicked. And in a more complex application, this activity is probably the one that needs to know about. So in this situation, all we need to do is change the data on the model.
Oh, if you were deleting, for example, it would be a little hard of each individual item to figure out the greater data structure to delete from or something.
Right. Well, so, in our situation, you would do delete in a slightly different way, but in our situation, yeah, the task needs to know that to store its complete value, and the view needs to know to check off the checkbox, but the real meaning to the click is probably fairly interesting to the activity as well. So some things may happen here that the view task activity need to manage in later classes. And in a more complex application, you may need to know about it up here. I don't know. That's something that is maybe an implementation detail, and there's not really any benefit except there's a heck of a lot less code I need to do inside this activity to figure out when something is clicked. I think the view would be a little bit more code. I don't know. There's not a lot of benefit here, but in general, the meaning of a click is important at this point in the chain too. I don't know if that's a good enough answer given the application that we have, but I think that I'm doing something in here in the later versions of the class too.